Health Plans, your Medicare plans, insurance solutions, and resource agency. We have a variety of plans and products that fit your needs, benefit requirements, and budget, with many low or no-cost premium plans, zero co-pays, and much more. Our licensed benefits advisor's priority is your health and well-being. Call us today and book your no-obligation consultation. 1-929-367-5269.
Also, welcome back to the Morocco Channel edition with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, new topic, new guest. Again, Morocco Channel is our latest edition in the NBC network, and that is to highlight Moroccans of the world, their successes, and also interest in Morocco and the Moroccan culture. And of course, every topic, every session, we'll bring in a guest who is of Moroccan descent or someone who is interested in working in Morocco, doing business in Morocco. But the idea is to bring the culture, to celebrate the successes of Moroccans all over the world. And I have with me today someone special, someone that I've known for over 30 years, and who we went to the same school. We actually worked at the same, company initially, and this was we're talking about 30 plus years ago. A success story in the United States, and I am proud to have him with me today, and just to bring his career path shared with Moroccans of the world. And of course, anyone that's watching this show, this is an opportunity to hear a career story, to hear about a person's journey into success in a different country, in part of the world, and making it to potentially some of the highest levels within the industries that they actually picked up. So without any further ado, I have with me Siraj, and he is the head of products in a banking institution, and we'll talk about what that looks like. But before we go into the details of what he does today, we want to go back to his story and his journey. First things first, Simo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here. I'm glad to see you.
Listen, it's a pleasure, man.
Yeah, it has been, couple years. Last time I saw you, we was down here in Orlando. So it's always nice to talk to you and to see you.
Yeah, last was nice to get together with a bunch of us. And we do that every now and then. I'm in Florida. We actually try to get, our alumni together and maybe do a reunion. And we've done a couple of those already. Sometimes it's hard to get everybody, and we're all over the maps. And so Simo, let's talk about, where we started. I mean, education background, obviously, we have a lot of similarities. We're Moroccans of birth and an origin, and we've met the first time at the International Higher Institute of Tourism, which is one of the largest and more, I always compare it to an Ivy League, format here in the States. So just to give people a little bit of an understanding, it's top, in Morocco and the north of Africa, as well as Middle East and even some parts of the Mediterranean. So we met there. Let's talk about your journey from that point on and just how it all started.
Yeah, sure. So went to Tangier, l'Institut Supérieur d'International Tourisme. I think that was around 1989, 1993.
Yep.
After that, came here, 1994, came to work for Disney as part of their international college program. That took me a year and a half. From there, it was just a transition period where I started looking for colleges to finish my education. UCF, obviously, since Disney here in Orlando, I ended up looking at a few universities. One of them was University of Central Florida. So that was my first program. Since my degree, it wasn't a full year degree, so I had to retake some classes. Finished my bachelor there, and then went to work for an investment company. These are the mid-90s, so there were a lot of dot-com companies, the bubble of the stock market. I was working for a trading investment company, and I took the opportunity to go back to school with them because they were financing my education. So I worked with them a year and a half, maybe 2 years. After that, the stress level was too much, and I couldn't juggle between my day job and school. So I ended up going back to school full time, finished my master's, and I got my first job out of a regional bank, Crustar, that was bought by Centrust. And I stayed with Centrust until I think I spent maybe 12, 13 years with them. Took different roles. They were nice enough to pay for all my education, and I ended up finishing my CPA, Certified Public Accountant, with them. I started just an entry-level position, financial analyst, and moved from there to different roles. Was mainly on the card division. So that was back then, a lot of banks, they created a separate division for the card operation for tax reason and also for legal reasons. So I was working in that division of Centrust. From there, I started moving up to different roles. The last role I took with them was the CFO, their Chief Financial Officer, before we sold the portfolio to MBNA. We sold the consumer portfolio to MBNA. We sold the merchant service to First Data. And the company became too small. So I moved to the real banking or the true banking, because card division is just a separate, usually it's just a separate area within the bank. I moved to the core banking, which is deposit and loan. And I moved to the commercial real estate, acted as their chief financial officer for the commercial real estate division. We moved that book of business from 3 billion to 12 billion. This is the growth of all the commercial real estate. So we were selling a lot of commercial loans. And then the 2008, 2009 hits. And so we had to convert all the commercial relationship managers to special asset officers, or shrank the portfolio down to minimize the bank exposure. At that time, it was too stressful, because obviously a lot of the clients that we were helping and lending, you become their collection. So a lot of the relationship manager left the bank. And at that time, a friend of mine called me out of Fifth Third. He was based out of New York. He said, hey, there's an opportunity to move to a Midwest bank, Fifth Third. I said, as long as they're willing to allow me to work from Orlando, I'll be more than happy to do it. So he said, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. And I moved, I worked in their Treasury Management division. From there, I moved to within that division to different roles. The last role I took with them was the head of their deposit and liquidity. This is where, if you think about banking in general, you can segregate the bank into the three divisions. You have retail banking, that's a consumer like you and I. Then you move to commercial, that support business, whether it's a small business, middle market, or large corporates. And within that division, that's where I used to work. And then you have investment banking that support merger and acquisition. So within the commercial division, I was managing the deposit and liquidity. So when you think about commercial clients or businesses, they have liquidity needs, whether a deposit or they need to make some type of investment if they have excess cash. So I was responsible for building the product that will meet their needs. And also on the bank side, it helps the bank fund its balance sheet. So the banking, you basically take deposit and you turn around and lend it at a margin, and that's your spread. So as long as you keep that deposit to finance your lending, you're making the spread, which is slightly different than any business. So if you think about a lot of businesses, liquidity, it's an issue. You try to manage your business, you always need that cash. Banking, they don't need the cash because you are flush with deposit. You're getting deposit from consumers, businesses, and as long as you are capable of lending that money and capable of giving the money back to the depositor, you should be fine. So this is the asset liability management. If you can master the movement of funds, then you should be fine. You have no problem because you always have excess liquidity, and you can lend that cash and make a spread. So I worked for Fifth Third, and then for 11 years, a friend of mine who moved to work for a bank out of Michigan. It was the last bank out of Michigan State. It was around, I think, 20 billion, 18 billion. And he said, hey, I need someone to run the Treasury Management group. He was a friend that I worked at Fifth Third. He was the head of the product team, and he needed someone to manage the deposit and liquidity for the bank. I joined him. It was interesting because we were building the whole team from from scratch. We're also building a lot of products. From there, we start acquiring other banks. We bought another bank, TCF Bank, which made the bank a 50 billion in assets, and they had footprints from the east all the way to Mississippi. 50 billion in less than a year. The bank ended up being bought by Huntington Bank, which is a large regional bank out of Ohio, Columbus. When that bank bought us, they offered me the role to be the head of their deposit and liquidity, which is the exact same role I had at Fifth Third. And I did that role for a year. And same thing again, someone who I knew from my days back at Centrus reached out to me and they said, hey, there is a bank out of Florida. We grew so fast and we reached a point where we need to start building our commercial division, and we need to start introducing a product that meet the commercial client needs. So when he called me, it was attracted to me because for multiple reasons. First, it's building a whole team from scratch, building a whole product, and that's fun. I mean, that's the fun part of the work, because when you start building all these new solutions on the treasury side, this is what you see a lot of the fintech, a lot of the technology, and a lot of the innovation side of the banking. It's not just deposit and loan. This is more where we start talking about payments, the different channels where you can make payments, the different way where you can move data between the clients. So it's more techy a little bit, but also has that banking component. So that was very attractive to me because it was an extension of, okay, I'm taking my knowledge in banking and couple it with the technology side. So I joined them, and the goal is to build up the whole team. So I'm in the process right now. I hired a few folks, and the process is to grow the whole team, and we have a whole suite of product managers and product analysts. And then we'll start introducing new products to meet the client needs. And so basically, when a lot of these banks, when they reach that 10 billion threshold, they are more. So if you think of a community bank, they are focused on retail or consumer. They reach the 10 billion. From a compliance perspective, it doesn't make sense to stay within that threshold. So we have to grow to a higher level. And there are two ways to do it. Either you keep acquiring other banks, or you have to move to the middle market and you start targeting businesses where you make more money, because that's where you charge more fees on the TM side. And that's what we're doing. So that's the strategy to keep growing. We're actually doing on both sides. Keep acquiring more banks. And that's why you see me traveling all the time in different regions in Florida. And at the same time, trying to build all these solutions so we can start tapping into a middle market and large clients. So that's basically my career path since 1994 in banking. So that's basically what's and ended up being here now. So right now, I manage the product team at the Seacoast Bank.
Well, Simo, first of all, that's you crunched in, not almost 28 years in a very short, time frame here. It's a lot of information. And first of all, I just, I'm in awe because I'm listening to all your success, and you talk about some big terms and you're making it sound very little, but it's powerful stuff. I mean, you talk about managing portfolios and billions of dollars over the course of your career path. And I'm talking about large institutions and banking, companies that they're really affecting, millions of lives of Americans. And I'm not even sure if some of those banks actually operate, worldwide, but it sounds like it's a huge stuff. And, we just want to break that down a little bit, from the beginning to today. I mean, that's a great, range of things. And so I want to just go back a little bit to the initial, days in terms of the part of the education piece and the type of path you took there to get you into the banking. Or was that, so the first question is, was that intentional? Did you plan to actually get into the financial piece? Because I know your background originally was in hospitality, but it was in the financial, I guess the business side of the hospitality, and then was that I'm assuming that was the part of it. So you in terms of French, c'est gestion hôtelière, and that's what in the institute, right? And I think you went to the next level, and then you came here, and then you after working at Disney, you went into this education platform, the UCF or any of the other universities that you attended. But the selection was to do an MBA, I'm assuming, right? That was the if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah. So my interest in finance was actually even before l'Institut Supérieur International de Tourisme, because that was my high school was in a specialized high school. Nice. So in Morocco, I went to a technical school, Les Orangers in Rabat, which it was one of the few technical schools where they actually early in high school they focus on specific tracks, either finance, accounting, or architecture. So I took the accounting track. And then after my graduation from high school, there were two options, either to go to a school out of Casablanca, which has a focus more on finance, or out of Tangier. I ended up picking Tangier because of the environment. It was more fun. So spent the 4 years, and it was the right decision. I think it was one of the best decisions because the experience to me was not just the content and what you learn in school, but also the interaction with a lot of the friends. Some of actually, well, like yourself, we have some of my friends from Tangier, I'm still in contact with them. And it was one of the best 4 years. So when I came here, I always kept in mind that background. I want to go back to finance. So when I worked for Disney, less than 6 months, I started looking at options. What do I need to do to go back to school? And I was definitely going back to a business school, whether it's finance or accounting, something that takes me back to my roots, which is to me was the finance track, not the business, not the tourism track.
So thank you, Simo, and it's important to highlight that because for our audience, especially Moroccan younger Moroccans today, I think it's important to realize that whatever you're doing at the high school level or just past that level in terms of college, it's time to start thinking, correctly and focusing your path, knowing what you want really from your path. And it seems that you had already, a clear understanding of where you want to be. And so all along, you were working towards that. Doesn't matter what it was, but you were finding the next best thing that's going to guide you towards where you are today. And so that's a big point for our folks out there, because anywhere in the world, actually, that's an important piece. But for, the young Moroccans, we want to encourage them that they need to understand what they want first, and then they have to set a path. And it's going to be a lot of different movements, left and right, whatever. But the idea is you have to set that foundation. Sorry, you wanted to say something? Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, in high school, you don't know what you want. So it wasn't like I knew exactly what to do, but I knew I liked numbers.
I love that.
Yeah. So I liked numbers. And to me, all the math and science classes were fun. So it was like a challenge, almost like a game. So every challenge. So I kept looking for that challenge. So every problem to me was like playing a game. And I kept seeking, because there was a reward and a satisfaction that I found by taking those classes. And that's what, so it wasn't like a career, hey, I want to go back to finance or do it. Was just mainly, I want to go back to that environment where I can be challenged mentally. And I knew for some reason I found a way, that's a methodology that I can learn the system and earn that content much better than other things. So and back even in high school, some of my professors, they said, hey, you're good at this stuff. And they're with their motivation and trying to incent me to go further. And actually that was one of the reasons, because one of my professors said, hey, listen, I think you will do well if you stick in math environment because you are good at it. So I kept just looking for paths or ways to go back to that math classes and learn more, because it was a fun.
Well, no, thank you for that. But that, I would call that almost a sign. I mean, you start finding yourself in an area, and that's the main important. I mean, maybe you didn't know exactly it was going to be finance banking, but you knew what your area would be and where you enjoy yourself. And I think that's important. People have to kind of like, sometimes some people are into literature, they love to read and write, then you know where you need to be. And early on I was in science and and biology, and I almost literally, I mean, I was registered to military medical school, but I didn't do it. I wound up with you in Tangier for the fun stuff. But the idea is that, everybody has a different angle. I was, always talkative. So, hospitality was like a natural fit for me. So that's one thing, but everybody is different in terms of that. But at the early on, there are signs, right? Everybody has, like, if you're a parent right now and you're a younger person that's aspiring to the future, and you're probably watching the world's success stories. And today with social media, we see a lot of that. Everybody is looking at these, people with beautiful houses, cars, billionaires, millionaires. Everybody wants to be there. But it starts at a certain point to understand you and understand where you are at any given point. You were young enough, but you already started realizing, like, you had the passion for numbers. And numbers, you can be a mathematician, you can be an accountant, you can be in the finance. I mean, the numbers are also kind of, they have their own drive. But you took it upon that. Now, one thing led to the other. You graduated from the institute. You came to Disney. That's an opportunity that opened up the doors to the States, and also a whole different. I mean, that was an experience on its own, and we can take a minute about that. But I know, working in Disney was also a lot of education in a way, because the way the operations, and you can see how those park themes and how they operate. I mean, one of the largest corporations in the world. And even them, they run a big business opportunity and a lot of numbers there too. So doing that, and then finally finding the next path in education, and therefore you went to finalizing your credits here because of the moving from one country to the other, the education maybe equivalent. Yeah, so you had to actually make that complete, and then you went to a full MBA program or master's program. And it was in the finance. And then, so now that was kind of like clear, in the finance you're in the banking. Then you went to CPA. Now for our audiences, that is probably one of the toughest, tests that you can take, an exam that you can take nationally, in the States. I mean, a lot of people actually have this stuff, but not everybody makes a CPA. If you don't mind, can you just guide, some of our, listeners and viewers today, like what that entails, to actually become a CPA?
So when I went back to school, my track was so it was an MBA, general MBA with a focus on finance. And finance, it's abroad. I mean, you can do a lot of things with a degree in finance. You can work in banking. You can work in any institution. It is any for-profit institution. To be honest with you, you would be able to work there because there is a set of skills that you acquire through that program. So when I worked and I started working with Centrust, we had the tuition reimbursement program, and they were willing to pay for my college. So even after I finished my MBA, I found I was in finance, and since I was moving up, I was at some point the controller, and to move to the next level, which is the CFO for the bank card division, I had to get the broad knowledge of accounting. And so I went back to school to get a second master's, and that was a master's in accounting, just to get the general knowledge of the accounting. And that was one of the best decisions I made. And since master's in accounting give you enough credits to sit for the CPA, I said, what the heck, I'm taking the classes, so let's go ahead and apply for the CPA. And I took the exam. I didn't need the CPA certification, to be honest with you, to do what I'm doing, because I was actually going to go work in the public sector. So you need a certification if you're going to become an auditor or you open your own practice as a CPA. To me, I was working for a corporate environment. It's nice to have the certification. Sorry, I got to charge the phone.
All right, no worries.
So I was saying, so I went back to the CPA exam, and it was one of the nicest thing to do, because it allowed me to take that accounting knowledge and use it at work. And if you think about any business, it's almost like the language of business. You need to understand how to read an income statement, how to read a balance sheet. Any business, there are revenues and expenses. It's the same methodology. It gives you the framework on how to understand and read a financial statement, whether you're in banking, entertainment, hospitality, food and beverage. It's exactly the same thing. And that knowledge actually allowed me to move to other areas within the bank. So when I moved to the commercial real estate, it was also applying some of that knowledge in accounting and finance to businesses, because when you're in a lending practice, there are some ratios. And if you think about it, the ratios that the underwriters take, they are trying to see if the business will be able to make the payments, and the decision or the ratio that they're using, those are based on financial statements that are following accounting rules. So it gives you that knowledge, and you keep adding on the top of it. So, and that's how I ended up in the commercial real estate. And then you move to other departments, you learn more, but it's almost like you keep adding to that knowledge from the basic or the foundation, which is the accounting side of it.
Well, I mean, again, to your point, I mean, there's the base, the foundation. You add more layers to it, you become a better and more expert in all these other angles, and just that's how you expand. So one thing I wanted to, you mentioned there, you went to work first for a bank, after I think the bachelor's, right? And then there was a tuition reimbursement program that you took advantage, of. And so the reason I want to highlight this is because sometimes people, especially in Morocco, or, they think, okay, well, how do I go proceed in education overseas? Because we know how that works. It's not easy, to get into another country and then apply, and the cost is high. But if someone has the opportunity to do that, what you've done is actually, I actually give that advice to sometimes the people when they tell me, like, do I get into a job, after my bachelor's, or do I, get a master's degree? I usually tell them, find a job this is just my opinion, find a job in your career path, and then start learning the skills. And then at the same time, see if you can advance your education in that realm, and then hopefully that makes you more, because you have both experience and stuff. Because a lot of companies today, they want some experience before they even get you a job. But the advantage you had is that you seek the company that had the ability to invest in you and your education, and I think that's available in the States for a lot of opportunity. A lot of companies do provide that as a benefit for employees. So you literally manage all aspects. I mean, you did the right math right away. You figured out it's learning. You'll get in all the scope, and then you get also your tuition reimbursement, which gives you an opportunity to maximize your knowledge. And you did that. And so for our audiences, it is an advice. If you are trying to figure yourself out, I mean, here's a great example in front of us, of how to plan correctly and get the maximum opportunity. So what do you say to that, to our folks, just to give them some quick advice on that?
Yeah. So, and actually go even before me joining the bank, before when I joined Disney. So part of it's because I didn't have the money to pay for my education. So by applying and coming here to the States to work for Disney, it was just a transition period, because I know that's a bridge. It will allow me to integrate in the system, adapt, find housing, improve my language, do my research. All this stuff while I was working at Disney. I knew my focus, obviously, it was a year program or a year and a half, depending if you do an extension, but I knew I'm not going to stay there. So I took that opportunity that time when I was at Disney to start doing research, looking for housing, and I started at UCF as an international college student, and the tuition was 3 times the in-state tuition. And that didn't stop me, because I said, okay, I'm going to do, if I have to do maybe 1 or 2 classes a semester, I don't have to take 3 or 4 classes. I'm going to minimize my expenses. Luckily for me, so when I joined the bank, they had a program, and this is the majority of a lot of large institutions in the States. They have a tuition reimbursement. As long as it's tied to something that you do at work, they would pay for your tuition. And the tuition reimbursement gave me enough money to pay for my classes while I was working. And that's how I ended up not actually paying for my MBA, but as I mentioned to you, I paid for my MBA, for my master's in accounting, for my certification. I took a couple other certification. I always found I think it doesn't matter what level you are. You have to keep learning. You have to stay an eternal learner, because that's how you differentiate yourself, and that's how you improve. Everyone has a degree now, so if you go to apply for a job, everyone has the same degree. But what makes you different when you have degree and knowledge in different disciplines. So if you go back to, we all had a degree from l'Institut Supérieur International Tourisme in Tangier. So that's a more focus on a specialized industry. And then when I moved to the finance and accounting, that gave me a different perspective, a different knowledge. And from there, moved to banking. And that's a completely, even within the banking, I moved from different areas just to keep challenging myself. So I started in operation, a financial analyst side, which in the bank card division. And within that bank card division, I never stayed in the same role more than 2 years. I moved to the different divisions. And it keeps challenging myself, but at the same time, I'm acquiring all these skills. A lot of that knowledge you can transfer with you in other new roles. And you become, you are that person who knows a lot without realizing it. And that background you take with you, that's what makes you attractive. And that's what sells you to other, whether departments within the bank or other companies outside the bank. So I kept applying that logic throughout all my career, trying to learn, even in my role, to be honest with you, even right now in my role when I was the head of deposit and liquidity at Chemical Bank, I went back to school and I took a data science certification. It's in 18 months, completely different, because I know in the treasury management space, a lot of things that are moving towards from just liquidity and technology and product offering to more data. Data become a big thing. So I went back because I want to learn more, and that gave me an edge. So within the product management space, you have a lot of product managers. Yes, they know how to manage a product. They know how to build a product. They know the technical side of banking. Now I'm adding all this data scientist stuff to it, and it gives me a broad perspective, and it gives me a competitive advantage against my peers. And also it helps me when I'm building a product, I have that broad perspective of the solution.
So thank you, Simo, for that. That's very powerful stuff that you said there. First thing is you made a very deep comment about, when you came here to the States, I mean, you know that Disney was going to be a transition, which, and they expect it to. I mean, when they hire us, they know that you're going to be there for a year, whatever, year and a half, and ultimately you're going to move on with life. But it is a path that helps. But the key here is that you did not have the ability to, or the means right away to actually go into those schools, but you figured it out. And I think for people that are listening today, especially people that are aspiring to maybe come to the States or maybe go anywhere in the world and say, well, maybe I don't have the financial backing, whatever. There is a will, there is a way, and you just have to be smart about it. And once you're there, you got to find a path. A door, and you get into that door and you gotta find that next bridge. You use the word bridge, powerful stuff. And then from there on, you knew that, yes, you got to pay a little on the extra side because it's an international program. But yeah, let's get started there. And also you kept going on like, how am I going to get better and become different and highlight myself over the competition? Because to your point, there are a lot of people with degrees. What makes you different? Now, that takes me to the next question, is that you are being a foreigner, originally coming to the States, can you please highlight to our folks, especially the younger, folks that are like aspiring to maybe, a career path, whether in Morocco or outside of Morocco, or in the States or any part of the world, what that means, to compete in a world where you're actually the newbie, you're a newcomer, and that is not easy. But at the same time, you are actually a terrific example of success story where you've challenged all that. You became more educated, more, diversified, and more appealing and attractive to most of these companies. And these are companies that have been in existence, and they have a lot of other stars that they can pick from. But you are one of the top and the elite that to pick from. So how to get people to actually conceive that?
So yeah, if you think about it, every person has strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, being a foreigner to the U.S., luckily, I mean, in the States, it's not maybe the same as other countries. You have a very diverse workforce.
Yeah.
You go to a lot of corporations. You have people from around the world, and so you have Indians, Chinese, Moroccans. language can be a challenge, obviously, because you don't master the language, and then so that's always going to be a handicap. But it shouldn't be a big challenge because it's a technical side. So people, they look at your skills as in that space. So you master, you're not a writer, or as long as you can communicate and articulate what you're trying to say. It was never a challenge in the US here because we have a lot of technical side, a lot of engineers on IT side. They're more reserved than some of the cultures, like Moroccans. They're usually very open-minded. They integrate easily with other cultures. So that was never an issue. It was it was the same challenge for other person that were born and raised here. Same challenges for me. It's what do you bring, and what do you bring to the table? It's your experience and your education. The more you know, it was never about, hey, you are Moroccan. It was, well, what do you bring as a person? And I bring the technical side. And what you bring, it's all your experiences. So whether it's language, whether it's your experience living outside your home, living in other places, working at Disney in difference and getting exposed to different side of the operation side of Disney, whether it's food and beverage, entertainment, retail, all that stuff, that what makes you, these are your strengths. And obviously there are some weaknesses, and you try to know exactly what are your weaknesses, and you try to improve and minimize them. And when they look at the option, they look at all things, and hopefully they will make the right decision.
Well, that is powerful. And I think that's an important message for our folks here, for audiences for today's show, is that, one of the advantages to your point in the States is that it's all about who you are and what you bring to the table. Most of the time, where you're from and what your background, what maybe religion, all that stuff may not be as relevant as, to your point, in some other parts of the world. But so for people, don't get discouraged of who you are. Just make sure that you prove who you are by your education, your expertise, and what you bring to the table, and don't sell yourself short. So, and I agree to that. I mean, I had a similar path, where that was not a challenge for me. I mean, actually, that was, I would say, a strength, the fact that I was coming from overseas and with a different angle, and so that actually sometimes to your benefit. And you perfectly stated it, that there are people from all over the world here, and that's the beauty about being in the States and the opportunity. Here, it's all about, if you have what it takes to drive the business and succeed, you will succeed. No one can stop you. Now, there are hurdles, and there's always kind of like things in the way that come up. So these are small challenges sometimes that we all have to deal with. I don't think there's anything that doesn't come with a challenge in life. So you do have that, but it's how you navigate those, and maneuver with them. Speaking of which, did you have any challenges in this path?
Of course, yeah. I think everyone will face challenges, and that's a part of the path. And if you break it down, it doesn't matter what you do in your life, whether it's you want to have a career in a specific industry or you want to become an athlete. If you break it down to small goals, so hey, like the first time when I never aspired to be a head of products within the bank. My role first was, hey, I just want to keep growing in my position. And I looked maybe my short-term goals. What can I do? It's small increments and small goals. Yeah, there are setbacks. There was something that and that's a part of the challenge, because when you have a setback, you go back and learn from it, and it gives you and actually that's what makes you unique and different. The more challenges you have, and it's almost like a mental memory, or in workout we call it muscle memory. It's the same thing, because now you say, oh, this has happened to me in the past. It's not a problem. So I can go back and learn from this and move to other positions. So at some point in my career, in one of the banks that we actually were reducing, so I was one of the impacted folks. That gave me an opportunity. I could easily sit down and say, hey, this is a big problem for me. Now I'm losing my job. I took that as an opportunity. I went back to take some additional classes, and I moved to an area completely new it was new to me, and I challenged myself. It took me a couple of years to learn that industry within the banking, but it was one of the best decisions, because now not only I knew that word of that side of banking, now I know a completely different side of banking, and they complement each other. It gave me a competitive advantage, because not only I know my job, but I know what the other. So when I was talking to folks that are on the other side doing what I used to do, I can understand what they need. I can talk their language on their technical side.
Well, Simo, that is powerful because what you stated there is just mindset. You know, you are in a mindset that you can. It's how you see things, and you do not take those as limitations. You take them as opportunities, and just a way for you to improve and move on. And I think that's a powerful message also today is that things are going to get thrown in your life, and what you need to do is not look at them like, oh my, it's the end of the line. It's actually just a shift to a different line, and that line will actually get you much stronger. And sometimes that is for a good purpose, and believe it or not, sometimes we don't know what's good for us until it happens, and it just throws you in a better light. And you did that, but it's all about attitude and the way you think about things. And I think it's powerful to send that today, that no matter what you face, and by the way, this is for global message. It doesn't matter what you experience in life. There's two ways. You can either collapse and just say this is the end, or say, you know what, I love this. This is a good. You use the word challenge. I'm gonna take the challenge and I'll make it and prove to myself that I can do this and do whatever it takes. You took 2 years to actually reset and do stuff, but you've learned more and came back stronger than before, and that's a powerful thing. So again, these, by the way, mashallah, I would say, God bless, with all this, and that, and I'm so proud of you, man. And I'm we've disconnected for a long time, and I'm hearing all this stuff. You have no idea how excited about what you've done and the work you've done, dude. And I think that's powerful for our audiences to see what it takes. It is, it sounds like easy. Simo is summarizing this whole career path in about 40 minutes worth of discussion, but there's a lot of stuff that's in between. But the bottom line is that from the beginning, there were certain traits to him, and what he's done is he's got some plans. He's always looking at short-term goals, as you said. You one goal at a time. You break one, and you move to the next. You have the vision. You have the long-term goal, but you're working, and then the paths are opening. That's the other thing. Sometimes know the big vision, but you don't know which door is going to open first, and so on. And you got to open one, then you open the next one, and you keep moving left, right, up, down, until you get to the next stage and the next stage, and never stop. And what I loved about what he said, even today, you even now in a new role, you still learn things because you always want to upgrade your knowledge and your skills to be always optimum and at the highest level. Because that's the other thing, we don't stop learning. Every day is a learning experience for all of us. The minute you say that I got this, the minute you actually lose. There is no such thing, because everything keeps moving. Now it's like it's like an accident. When you crash, the force stops, right? That we call the whiplash. We don't want that. We want to be going with the flow and with the force continuously, and that's the only way to do it is by learning more and being proactive all the time. And don't blame the world, don't blame issues, don't blame things. You have control. What will you say to that, Simo?
Yeah. So just 2 points there before we. So first, what I say, it's almost like a business plan. If you visit a lot of businesses, you have a strategic goal, usually 5-year plan, and you set the goal for the 5 years, and you narrow that goal to a tactical, which is, hey, what I'm going to do this year or next quarter to meet that 5-year goal, and you start working on those small changes just for the month. And by focusing on the tactical side, you end up achieving your strategic goal, which is that strategic goal was usually maybe 3 or 4 goals max. And that's what a lot of businesses, that's what we do in business. You set the goal for 5 years and you set the tactics, which is the small things that you're going to do. Obviously, you can't control all the environments around you. So what you do, you adjust. So you're navigating every month and adjusting and resetting your tactics to get to your final goal. If you could say first, well, I want to become a manager or head of this department, that's a big goal. So maybe break it down to small goals, and it will be achievable. I just want to be something smaller than that. And by the way, when we say learning, we're not talking about just formal education, going back to school. It doesn't have, you can learning, it means just picking up a book or listening to something, to a podcast, or having a conversation with someone who is more knowledgeable in their expertise. That's what I mean by learning. It doesn't have to be the formal structure, because we all know we have families. And so I do go to a lot of conferences, and I pick up the phone with folks from different areas and just talking, listening to them. You don't know how much you can pick up from just talking to people and try to absorb that knowledge. That's what I mean when I say learning. So that's the other points I want to make about the goal and trying to stay focused. And finally, to me, it's it doesn't matter your goal in life. If you pick something that you like and you work hard, you will get there. especially here in the US. Yes, there are limitations maybe in some other countries, but I think if you start small and you work very hard and there is the desire, that's why when you asked me first, hey, how did you pick up banking? I said, it just because I loved the numbers and so I stayed within my space. So someone may like soccer or may like music. If that's what you like and that's your passion, go for it. And just small increments and until you will get there at some point. If you put the hard work, you will get there.
I love it. I love it. And that's the bottom line. I mean, there is nothing easy and you have to put hard work. And I love what you said about knowledge. This is not, specifically education. I mean, right now, there's formal education, there's informal education, and there's plenty to learn from everywhere. You mentioned podcasts, you mentioned, books, conferences. With social media today, with the internet, you have an open directory to any language, line. It's lifelines everywhere. And I love what you said about just operate as a business. Big picture, small picture, and small roles. And by the way, I relate to you because in my career, other than media in the insurance world and the sales management, one thing that same thing, I started as a representative and I moved my way up the ladder, over the years, different industry, different products and things like that. But the same thing happened whereby you learn the little role is as important as the larger role, because you can't do the top role if you don't know all the roles within your division and understanding all the different intricate stuff. So it makes you even more valuable when you actually pitched, out there, and people will want your expertise. So it's just something that is powerful. So folks, if you're out there today in Morocco or outside Morocco, anywhere in the world, doesn't matter if you're Moroccan or not. This is a global, scale thing. Everybody, if you have dreams, you have, goals, and you see something that's in you. I love what you said. Doesn't matter if it's music or whatever. If that's your passion, stick to your passion and work towards what that passion is going to drive you. And don't give up easily on your aspirations. Make it work. And there is no limit. There's nothing that's going to stop you. Yes, hurdles, maybe a little setbacks, but you can maneuver those easily eventually if you have enough strong will and never give up. And that's a big piece of people, because I think sometimes we do tend to sometimes either give up too soon or or just listen to maybe other negative folks or negativity. And I do want to ask you about that. What are some of the things to advise our audiences today about, people telling you well, what makes you think you're going to do this or stuff? Because we have a lot of those folks out there that tend to why you? Well, you think you're going to be special, you're going to do this. We hear those things. What do you say to those people? Not the ones that are saying this, but the people that are trying to do things, how to avoid, getting all that garbage in.
To be honest with you, I focus on myself. You can't win by looking at other people's, and it's the same concept we use in business too. Like the successful bank, we try not to look at our competitors. We try to be more consumer driven. So our focus, we don't look at. So we try to become the largest bank in Florida, and so instead of focusing on the competition, we focus on our consumers. So we want to meet our commercial client needs. We don't care about what the competitors are doing, what the other banks are doing. The same thing as a person. I focus on myself, on my needs and my passion, what I need to do, what I love to do. What other people, that's their opinion and to me, that's irrelevant. So I don't spend a lot of time, to be honest with you, on trying to analyze or seek their feedback, because I know what I want. I will seek maybe listen to folks with the mentors and get their thoughts. But the bottom line, I know what I want and I know my strengths and weaknesses. So yeah, you shouldn't be focused on others. As I said, the same thing on business too. We look at the competition, obviously, from pricing and other things, but our focus, it's the consumer. That's our goal. We stick with the consumer and we try to differentiate ourselves by become obsessed with the consumer versus trying to be obsessed with the competition, or in our case, obsessed with other people's opinion. Try to become obsessed with your needs and what you're trying to achieve in life versus others.
That is so powerful and so deep. And folks, there you have it. Again, it's as simple as that. People are always going to talk, and when they see you in a pad, they might say, "Oh, why you?" and this. Don't listen to anyone. Just focus on exactly what your mission is and what your goals are. Nothing matters except what you think about yourself and how you can improve and keep moving forward. That's I think that's what makes a difference between some people who succeed sometimes, some people actually who stop behind, or like get I guess pull back because they get caught up with all the different vibes that are out there, and don't worry about all that. So it's all about you. And by the way, this is not about being selfish. It's just being focused, two different things. Being focused means that you know what you want and you're going towards it. And I love what you said about, I don't care what the other guys do. I care about what my consumers want. As long as I deliver, higher, I'm probably going to become the best. And that's really in your personal life and everything. So you want something, you go after it. People are going to tell you like, well, you're not going to make it. People are going to say like, well, why do you think you're going to be so special? And if you start buying in those things, or sometimes they criticize you for no reason. They don't even know what you have. They criticize you. They just, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, guess what? I don't know what I'm talking about. That's okay. But I know what I need. So I don't need that opinion. So it's that kind of thing. So folks, again, don't let people, pull you, down and hold you back. Nothing can hold you back except yourself. The limits are made by you. And I think that's something that, we have in front of us today. As an example with Simo, nothing stopped him. And by the way, I mean, one thing that, you talked about, we didn't talk about, in depth, the fact that you were working remotely, all the time, and you still manage it. A lot of people don't even, cannot even fathom that. But the idea, you were that good that, companies don't mind for you to actually be, moving and working and stuff, because that's the thing. You become a signature. You become you. You become someone that people are going to seek. You become the authority. As a matter of fact, I had a quote, a few months back, but I said that, get so good at what you do to become the authority of that, whatever that is that you do. So people come to you for expertise and advice, and that's it. Once you become that, you gain everything. And everyone watching and listening today has the ability to do that. There is nothing that can stop you except you. So again, that's just my piece. Simo, so we're coming out to the end of the show today, but if you can just give some nice advice to our younger audiences, and by the way, all audiences in the world, like, advice in terms of business path and just, mindset. What would you say to people to keep them motivated and engaged towards their targets and goals?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I mean, bottom line, you have to manage from a professional side, or you manage yourself as a brand almost. So you are a brand of yourself. So what I mean by that, in your interaction with your colleagues or the people around you, vendors or customers, you want to have you want to treat them nice, treat them the way you want to be treated, and you want to work very hard, and you would pay back. So, and it's going back to the remote thing. I mean, it wasn't easy, but I put the hour. So I worked very hard, and I built that brand recognition to within the even if I'm remote, I'm working as hard as someone in the office. And so you just have to work hard and keep your brand, meaning, well, I'm going to treat everyone the same I want to be treated. Not just because I have maybe this position or this role, then I'm going to treat people differently. And that pays back. I think that has a long-term effect on your career and you as a person too. And I apply the same thing in my life too. So, it doesn't matter who I'm interacting with. I try to treat them the way I want to be treated. The advice that I think it will be helpful to someone, whether Moroccan or someone maybe going back, I will say just pick something that you like and keep working hard at it. You will get there. It doesn't matter how hard. The fun and the enjoyment is actually going through all that process. It's not the final destination. To be honest with you, if I have to go back, I won't mind going through the whole process. One of the best years were at Tangier or back at Disney. So that was the fun. And even the years back at college, at UCF or other university I attended, it was that time, the crunch time, the late nights, spending hours at the library and so on. It was fun, and I don't mind doing it because that's what makes you who you are. It wasn't the destination, it wasn't the degree or the job. It's the path to get there.
It's the journey, and you enjoyed every part of it. And that's very powerful, Simo, because if you don't enjoy every step of the way, you get bored and you get tired, and you'll get basically disappointed in that, and you can crash. It's all about making it sweet and lovable and enjoyable all across. And I listen, that is some super stuff. I think today we've learned a lot, and we've gained a lot of momentum and a lot of insights from you, Simo. Like I said, I'm proud of you, dude, and then it's real an honor.
No, it's same here. I mean, thank you. I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed the conversation. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And yeah, if there is anything that can help, definitely please reach out to me. And hopefully, next time we'll get to see you down here in Florida. So that's it. We bring all the guys together. We'll spend some time.
I think it's time for us to do another reunion. Yeah,
we should. Yeah.
But listen, I mean, thank you so much for your time. Taking this hour and really giving so much good and value to our audiences and listeners worldwide. And it doesn't matter what background. Although this is the Moroccan channel, this is just to kind of give some input to our younger folks around the world that actually want a path. But it's also for anyone that's watching and listening today. This is the same rules apply for everybody. If you do exactly what we talked about today, it doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter who you are, you can. And again, it might vary depending on where you are in some circumstances, but the variances are just simple little hurdles or setbacks that you can still navigate and maneuver. So don't let those, stop you. Simo, this was great. And we do have to actually catch up soon, man. Thank you so much. Folks, it's been real. Thank you so much for watching. This is Morocco Channel with your host, Hurricane H, and we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.
Thank you.